Hello, everyone, and welcome to VDK community meeting. Today is 31st of January, and this is actually the first meeting of this year, so we're back. Today's community meeting is a workshop about the data sources, and just to quickly introduce VDK and what we're going to do, I'm going to show you the repository. So VDK is an open source data framework to develop, deploy, operate data workflows with Python and SQL. This is our repository. I'm also going to share it in the chat so you can open it yourself and check it out. And if you want, you can also give us a star. It supports greatly our team. So yeah, what it does is, as I basically kind of quickly described, but it's called Versatile Data Kit for a reason. So it kind of covers quite a lot of the data lifecycle, data engineering lifecycle, I would say. So, and here in the repository, in the README file, you can actually check all the, let's say, features that it has: ingestion, transformation, deployment, operations, and we have also plugins. So it's extensible for any sort of use case. And of course, each of these sections has a little short introduction and video. You can also check it out later. And also we are really welcoming contributors and kind of important resources you can find here in the last section of the README file. And yeah, today Anthony is going to be covering a little bit more about exactly what kind of data sources and how to configure the data sources for ingestion. And yeah, basically all the community meetings are here in the wiki page under the community meetings. Our agenda today is just the introduction, what we're doing now. And then we're also preparing a release for each of the community meetings. Anthony is gonna, briefly in 5 minutes, explain that. And then we're going to go into the workshop, which is a guided experience where you can just try out VDK yourself in Jupyter Notebook. And yeah, Anthony is gonna yeah, explain this. All the previous recordings are also here in our wiki page under the community meetings, and you can see our channel with basically all the videos that are in these descriptions. They're linked in this page. And yeah, the YouTube channel is also called just Versatile Data Kit. So yeah, I wanted to do also a quick intro to the team, but I can see that here is Anthony and Johan. So maybe just say quickly hello and yeah, you can say something about yourself.
Hi, hello, my name is Antoni. I am maintainer of Versatile Data Kit. We were in part of it since its creation. Yeah, today I'm going to talk quite a bit. So, can we go on next?
Okay, hi, I'm Johan. I've been part of the team for nearly a year now. And yeah, I'm a maintainer and currently working on the AI initiative. That's me.
Thank you. And yeah, regarding the questions, I think just because this is a workshop and I was thinking how to organize it, you can, on Zoom, you can raise your hand or write a comment in the chat anytime. I'm going to be monitoring it, and while we're here, I'm going to be just checking if there is something to respond to. And now I see that there is a question, so I'm going to add a link also in the chat about the older community meetings, and something that you can check out. So Anthony, yeah, you can maybe start with the release, and yeah, then we can go to the workshop.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Share my screen. So, we do release announcements like before every community meeting. A VDK is not a single component, so that does not have exactly single release, but it's more like umbrella release, which announce all the major features. And for the last month, only three things were major. One is introduction of new database support for Oracle, which includes both execution of queries, parameterized queries, and ingesting data with schema inference, automatically creating the tables and columns. The second, oh, it doesn't restart.
Anthony is a bit quiet.
Huh?
Your voice is a bit quiet, but I, for example, hear myself in echo, like.
Okay, is it now better? Is it now better?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay. The second was improvement in the VDK track walk plugin, whose goal is to make it easier to use walks efficiently while troubleshooting. And finally, we've started putting much more effort into what you want to call the AI initiative, which is primary focus for the next few weeks would be to prove that and show VDK can be used to create pipeline for ingesting data into vector database for RAC use case. Particularly, this is the type of use case that's used to create chatbots, for example. And it's currently development. There are a lot more contributions, and we have a new contributor in the last month who made their first contribution. Okay, that's about the announcement for the release. I guess the next topic is about the workshop.
Yes, I think you can just go, yeah, with the workshop.
Okay, I'll just share one slides, 5 minutes. And so yeah, so as I said, for style data kit, one of the things that it supports is ingestion, what we call, the ability to extract data from sources and load it into another destination. As part of this, there are a lot of challenges you need to handle, things like pagination, handling all the metadata, making sure that incremental status get between runs so that you don't duplicate or repeat the same work, tracking the schema. In order to do that, this VDK also provides this kind of concept of data sources and data targets, or ingestion plugins also called. Both of them are pluggable because there are a variety of data sources in the whole world, all kinds of APIs, databases, and other. So this is the only feasible way for this to be efficiently developed is if we allow the open source community in the world to be able to contribute and develop this kind of data sources. The same goes for targets, though the targets are fluffier. As part of this, plugin developers would use so-called extractor API to develop their data sources. They can also extract metadata metrics for data source, allowing easier troubleshooting and export the data analysis, which is creating this kind of open source data sources. And the data user, the person developing some kind of application, will be able to reuse them with just configuration. So in today's demo, we are not gonna cover how you create data sources. So there's a very quick GIF. Basically, Versatile Data Kit provides simple spec for creating data ingestion, in which you can define how the data source is being extracted into Python objects. You can manage its state. It will provide schema detection, metadata, logging, versioning on top of all this for all data sources. It also will be able to, there are already existing libraries like Singa.io, Airbyte, and now in the AI world, LangChain and Yaml Index are providing their own data sets, which can be reused. And the way the data user is going to be able to use those data sources in their own pipeline could be with only configuration or Python code. Today we'll be covering basically this scenario, how you can reuse different data sources created, build your own data pipeline. So in order to get started with the workshop, you just need to go here, bit.ly/vdk-ingest. Once you do, it should navigate you to this page, data ingestion with versatile data kit. The only prerequisite is having internet really, and some familiarity with Python SQL.
Can you paste the link in the chat also in Zoom?
I'm not in Zoom. I'm in the room.
Okay.
If you can paste it, it's
I'm gonna try to find.
VDK-ingest. Okay. So yeah. Yeah. So let's get started. To get started, you go to how to get started, ready to jump in and click the Start Data Ingestion Workshop tutorial. It should open this notebook environment, which has some explanations. There are some useful shortcuts, which if you're not familiar with notebooks, you can use, like Command Enter or Control Enter to run the cell, or Shift Enter to run and go to the next cell. There are also other options you can explore here. So the first thing we need to do is to install VDK. So we're gonna run Command Enter, for example. You're gonna get this kind of warning, you can run anyway. Once you so what is going on here? First, we're installing Quick Start VDK, which is the flavor VDK for getting started quickly. SVDK is composable with different plugins, almost like Lego. This is the Lego pieces that are best for getting started. We are installing the notebook plugin, which will provide us with the ability to develop our job inside the notebook, as currently, the VDK pattern as well, and the data sources plugin, which would provide us with the functionality that we want to be able to compose sources and connect to them. And the Singer is a plugin, a specific data source plugin, which provides you ability to connect to all the Singer IO developed data sources. single IO is kind of effort to develop open source standard for writing data sources and provides their code tabs in single language, a hundred of data sources against different systems like Shopify, Facebook, Square, Stripe, SurveyMonkey, Toggle, Trello, and so on, which is particularly useful. And today we also use it. That's why we're installing it. Once it's successfully installed, if you don't want to scroll all these blocks, there's a trick. You can click clear output. Right click on the mouse, clear output, and it will just clear the output. The cell remains executed. You can see if a cell is executed with this green tick here. Now we have everything installed, and we want to configure our data job, which we're developing inside the notebook. In our demo scenario here, we are going to be using SQL database, mostly because it's very easy to connect to. It's something that every Python installation provides. So DB default type will tell us what is the SQL database, the database that we're going to use to execute queries against. Ingest method default tells us what is the basically the target that we want to finally ingest the data into. In our case, it will be SQL. And this option that will make and generally the ingestion runs in background and in parallel, which speed it up, of course, and make it doesn't block the main application, the main job work. But for our cases, for this kind of workshop, it will be easier if everything is synchronous. So yeah, we need to execute it with Command Enter in my case, or Control Enter, or just clicking this. So you should have the green tick here. Once this is executed, the next thing we need to do is initialize the new job that we are now starting. Basically, the way it's initialized is always the same way. It's with these three lines. The first one with what the plugin, the Python plugin that we're using in order to be able to start developing data job in the notebook. The second one is basically starting the data job, and this is given us a job input instance. Job input is the main object, and which provides a lot of methods for So yeah, we need to execute this cell first. You may need to execute it twice. Sometimes it gives a weird warning, which is not normal, but if it happens, just execute it twice. So once we have this green again, we have started our data job, and now we have this kind of job input methods, which provide us with all kinds of methods for controlling the flow of the data job, or for sending data for ingestion, for getting some properties, arguments, saving state, and so on. Like example, you can play around with this method. Currently, our job doesn't accept arguments. It's possible also to execute SQL queries directly in the cell with VDK SQL tag, like this example, where here we create a table called Hello World with translations of Hello World in each language. Once we do, we can now also select the data. You just specify VDK SQL, and it will execute the query against the pre-configured database. In the beginning, we configured DB default type, and this is the database that's being used across the whole job by default by this VDK SQL. Cool. There are other things that you can do, like manage properties, set secrets, and of course, VDK also provides this kind of data sources command, which let me just write help instead first, which provides you with ability to explore all the VDK data sources which are registered. For example, with minus list, we can see that we currently have installed and registered only 2 data sources, single tab and some auto-generated. The single tab data source though provides its own command because it's a collection of many data sources, and we can explore them with VDK single minus list tabs, and we can see all kinds of data sources here. For today's demo, we are gonna be working on the NS API tab, which once you open here, you can open its documentation and explore what options, configuration options it has, and so on. Let me hide this for now. So before we continue, I can leave you just for a few minutes to explore basically the Hotler point for yourself. So we are now at 3 initialize new VDK job input until 4 before we move to ingesting data. If you'd like us to move ahead, you can give thumbs up in the chat or
I received a message that he's following well, but I think that maybe we can wait for thumbs up. I'm not sure.
Ms. Gibu.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hello.
Okay. So thank you for explanation. It's I think I'm going through here too. So yeah, it's just a good explanation. I'm exploring on that. Thank you for that.
So, should we wait a bit, or would you like us to move ahead?
Again,
Anthony just was very quiet. I don't know if
Oh, I was saying, should we move ahead or do we wait a bit more to play around?
Yeah, we can move on. Okay.
Okay, so I assume we are now at step 4, ingesting data, task 2. So for our task here, we'll ingest data from our HTTP API, which is this one. JSON place called users. So ingest data for users. We can see that it's a bit nested. ID, name, username, address, phone, company. You can of course change for the data source and the main concepts that we need to be aware when ingesting data with VDK is, of course, for the data source. That's almost like this is where you specify the connection string. In our case, the HTTP URL, and it handles how to connect to the data. It's as in the example given, almost like forming the bridge for your data. Then each data source can be split into multiple streams. This is entirely how the splitting happens. It's generally documented in the data source itself. It's almost like a lane on the bridge where multiple cars can move in parallel. And finally, each lane has multiple cars which can think of the payloads, the actual carrier of the data, and associated metadata. We're going to be using the TabPress API MSDK, and we just can install it. We also, and once we do, there are two ways which we can ingest data. The first one is with configuration, in this case TOML, and the other way will be Python. So in the TOML case, in this case we specify this kind of VDK ingest magic in order to say that we're using a configuration-driven way in the notebook, and we need to specify the data source configurations. Basically, we list of data sources. You can name the list anything here. The first data source, I mean, is called users in our case because we're going to be ingesting from the users. But this is the name of the data source here. Then we have the basically the data source plugin name, single tab. This is something that you can get from the list here. This is the name. It must be the same. Otherwise, it won't be able to find it. And then we go into the configuration of the data source itself. In this case, because we're using Singer, we specify the tab name, which is TabPress API MSDK, which is again something we can fetch from the list of tabs. This one. Once we do that, now we need to look at the configuration of the TabPress API. We specify API URL. In our case, this is jsonplaceholder.com, and we can configure the different streams. We are gonna have only one stream. We are gonna call it users, which would extract data from the users part of the URL. This is can be left default, and so we are gonna use some inference logic to detect the schema with the first 20 records. Then we can list the destinations. In our case, it's only one destination, SQWhite. Again, this is just random name, test destination. Continue with SQWhite. The method name is SQWhite. It's and define the flow of the data, basically from what source to what destination. We want the flow of the data to be from users, which we define here. to SQLite, which we defined here. So once you do, all you need to do is click and execute the cell. As the cell is being executed, it will start reading the data from the API and sending it to the SQLite database. Not only that, it should record the last ingested payload in properties. So we can see it's finished. And okay, we can see that we have our data ingested into the table. We can see ID, name, username, email. The data was flattened because it's being ingested into the database table. So we have address street, this one, address street, address suite, address city, address zip code, company catchphrase, company BS. We didn't need to create a table or anything else. So this is the entirely configuration-driven path for ingesting data. It provides basically no-code solutions because you just need to specify your configuration. I use Tomo, but creating any other format, YAML or anything else, is extremely easy. The object model is the same though, right? You specify list of sources, list of destinations, and the flow between each source and destination if you want. Cool. So let's see how you can, let's say that you want some more advanced use case where you want to do this with Python and maybe do some simple transformation on top of this. In order to do that, you can, of course, do the same thing that we did above with Tomo configuration using Python. We can see the data source configuration is for us here. So we have here source definition. The ID that we pick up is users. This is simply the source ID, something that we pick. The name of the source is single tap. This is the one that we get from the source list, and this is the configuration. This is the same configuration as the in the Tomo file, but written in Python. The SQLite destination, we have destination definition. The ID is something that we pick up ourselves. The method name is SQLite. And here we define the data flow. And we use with data flow input, data flow start. Once we do, so let's run them. Once we do, it will do the same thing as in previous example. It will start the flow from and read the data from the data source, in this case the API, and write it into the destination, in this case SQLite. And we should have the new data. We should have 20 rows now because we added 10 more, right? So let me clear output to show this. And now let's say that we want to do some kind of remapping. Okay, let me actually show this. For example, let's say that we want to add a new table and add an extra column called new column. In order to do that, we can just extend the data for mapping definition that we did before by providing a mapping function. The mapping function accepts the payload, and you return a payload as well. And the payload, we add to the data a new column called new column, and we change the table, so it's called users with column instead of just users, and return the payload in which we have the modified data. We return the same metadata, so no changes. We return the same state, so no changes, and the new table. And we can execute it now. So we edit a new column and change the database name. It's completed. So everything is all right. Now we're acquiring data from users with column. And we're gonna see if there is new column. Yeah, we can see that we've added new column, which currently value is just new column. Not very imaginative, I guess. We are able to fairly easy with device code to make some kind of simple mapping. And this basically concludes the workshop. Now you can, do you have any questions?
Okay, on my side, I have just some questions regarding on loading the data. Can we just load or pick the data from different resources, or could you explain me on the resources? Just should I put the URL, or just could you explain me on that?
Yeah, so I here define source users, but you can define either different type of source, foo, and for each data source, you pick the data source code name that you want to connect to. In our case, single tab and the tab name. So if you want to connect to, let's say, some of the other ones like Jira, you can just specify here tab Jira, Jira 1, tab Jira. You need to specify this kind of configuration, username, passwords, total of the Jira, and so on. Basically here, the same way as is done for this one. Inside this one, you specify all the configurations you need. So in our case, this will be username, password. You need to look at each data source has its own configuration. So one needs to go and look over the configuration provided by the data source in its documentation. And once you do, you can specify also another destination instead of, let's say, sales.db, which is in Postgres. You may need to specify connection string in this case. And finally, you can define the flow. If this is a list, so we can define one flow from users to SQLite, but we can define another flow from Jira 1 to CLSDB. And now I'm not gonna run it because I don't have the proper configuration. But once you run it, it will execute both flows in parallel. It will start streaming data for user to SQL, and from 01 to CLSDB, you can always disable one of the flows. Did it answer the question?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
In order to be able to explore what kind of data sources are there, you use for now VDK data source list, and for Singer, VDK Singer list tabs, and then go to documentation of each data source. Any other questions?
No, on my side, I think I have to I have to explore it a little bit, and I'll chat if there's. That's a really good explanation. Thank you for your time.
Okay, cool. And I think this concludes our workshop, and I think this was our final topic, the community meeting.
Yeah, so I actually forgot nothing much to add. I think I put all the links with all the previous meetings and everything, and I think I actually also sent them privately. So yeah, just to say that maybe at the moment we're looking for the people to try out our project, and if someone is using or like has a good use case, you can reach out to us on the Slack, which is also in our repository, and yeah, we would like to hear some feedback from you. And yeah, that's it, I think, for the workshop today, for the community meeting today. And the next one is next month. I think it could be 28th of February.
Cool. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Okay, nice day for everyone. Thank you.